Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is Thursday, August 27th. We are live on Rumble, live on Twitter, live on Spreely TV, Roku, and Apple TV. Of course, we are live on Facebook, live on Substack, live on YouTube. You can get the Shannon Joy Show at your leisure via audio on any of your favorite podcast platforms. The SJ Network reaching upwards over 1 million eyes and ears every single month and growing exponentially. Thanks to all of you. I hope everyone is doing well today. Big show today. Of course, we have one of our longtime friends and guests on the Shannon Joy Show, Dr. James Thorpe, is going to be with us in just a couple minutes. A new study that he has commissioned is now warning of wide-scale blood contamination from the COVID shots, an absolute tragedy. This study, which I've linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, part 1 and part 2, which we'll go through with Dr. Thorpe, suggests that blood donated by COVID-19 vaccinated individuals may contain biologically active vaccine-derived constituents that could cause adverse clinical outcomes. All the pathogenic components of the COVID vaccine or byproducts from it have been found in several studies to be circulating in the blood of vaccinated donors. We need to talk about screening blood donations. We need to talk about the white fibrous blood clots, which we've seen more reporting on recently, and all of the impact of the most dangerous, the most outrageous mass injection campaign, which has wreaked such havoc on so many human bodies. And we're still dealing with the fallout of this today. It is unfathomable that we are 2 years in to Donald Trump's presidency and the tenure of Bobby Kennedy Jr. at the helm at HHS. None of this is being studied by NIH. None of this is being addressed by people in power. And we continue to languish in inaction. So we're going to be talking to Dr. James Thorpe about that and more in just a moment. But I do want to point you to 2 other articles in the SJ show notes today that we're going to get to a little bit later in the program. I'm going to keep James for about a half an hour, and then we are going to go through a piece that is absolutely critically important. Next week on Monday, I'll donate the entire show to this one piece written by Leah of the Leah Files. You can find her on Substack, Twitter, and Facebook. This report, The Currency Killer, an expose on Scott Bessent, the protege of George Soros, the man who broke the British pound in the 1990s. Scott Bessent now at the helm as U.S. Treasury Secretary, an enormous amount of power. And he made 13 moves in the past 8 days, which could set in motion something absolutely critical and catastrophic for the U.S. economy and the dollar. I have long asserted, and I posted this on Twitter this morning, Scott Bessent, the fox in the henhouse, put in this position of power by President Donald Trump. I told my audience 2 years ago that Donald Trump would deploy George Soros's protege, Scott Bessent, who assisted him in collapsing the British pound in the 1990s and profiting to the tune of $1 billion. I told my audience that Trump would do this with the explicit purpose of crashing the US dollar via his position as Treasury Secretary. This is one of the many reasons that I urged people in 2024 and 2025 to not only refuse to align with and or vote for Donald Trump, but to oppose his administration in every way possible. I asserted very clearly that Trump was a Trojan horse for the great resetters, the people who deployed Operation Warp Speed and the lockdowns in the first place. Tragically, my warnings fell upon deaf ears in the Maha circles and also MAGA circles. And I was basically, as you all know, excommunicated from the health freedom movement at large for my quote, TDS and anti-Trump heresy at the time in 2024 and 2025. Now, this prediction that I made 2 years ago, and even before that, appears to be spot on with all of the receipts and recent actions in the past 13 days, given these recent revelations. And this overview, one of the best pieces that I've seen written on this, it is putting everything together. What happened with the Japanese yen, what happened with USD1, Donald Trump and Trump Inc., the family's private stablecoin, which is profiting off a lot of these moves. Everything is put together in this piece. It's linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, printed out in full. It's about 11 or 12 pages long. It is sourced. It is cited. The infographics are phenomenal. And I'm planning on having Leah on the show to go into this in more detail next week. Everyone needs to know what is going on because this is going down. They are hitting us from every angle, culturally, economically, financially, our health, our air, our water, mass poisoning campaigns. But we can't just look at this exclusively through the lens of medical freedom. We have to see the other part of this picture. And this puts it in very, very clear, in a very, very clear way. So I want to encourage all of you. We're going to get into this later in the program. But I'm going to encourage all of you to take a look at that piece, The Currency Killer, Scott Bessent. It's from the Leah Files Substack, also a great piece from Sasha Latapova as well that we might get to. It's everything. It's everything. And this is why I tried to remind the medical freedom community at the time when they were aligning with Donald Trump. You can't just look at this through that narrow scope of Bobby Kennedy Jr. and what he could potentially do at HHS. It's a much bigger picture. It is a war waged against the American people by our own government, which has been captured, in my opinion. And this is the opinion of many, many others as we're beginning to see this play out. So we're going to get to that in about 30 or 40 minutes here on the Shannon Joy Show. Show notes for next week. We have some great guests coming up. Seth Holhouse will be joining us on the SJ Show. Brett Miller tomorrow, exclusively for Rumble Premium subscribers. We are going to do a broadcast from my home again. It is Ask Anything. We're going to get started right around 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'll have my coffee ready. I'll be broadcasting from my kitchen. This is your opportunity to ask me anything that you think I might not want to talk about on the show at large. You can ask me about my history, my past, devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy, my politics, my positions. You can challenge me. Anything and everything is on the table for Rumble Premium subscribers. That is going to be tomorrow around 11 a.m. Eastern time. So look for that. We'll get started live here on Rumble for everyone, and then we'll go back behind that premium paywall. I'll answer all of your questions. And then I'm going to run a best of the Shannon Joy Show from this past month. My interview with Catherine Austin Fitz, my interview with Michael Yon, my interview with Jeff Berwick, Peter Schiff, and some of the biggest guests on the SJ Show. All of those on repeat for Rumble exclusive and Rumble Premium subscribers. And that's going to be tomorrow. So that will be super, super fun. If you're watching right now, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, Substack, all of the things. Smash that thumbs up button so that we can get that algorithm growing. This is how we grow organically. And we have a great guest to lead off the show today. You guys know Dr. James Thorpe. He was a warrior in the dark days of lockdown, one of the first medical doctors to stand up and speak out, warn about these shots and how they would impact pregnant women and their babies, their unborn babies. Dr. James Thorpe, he is the author of In God We Heal, which I absolutely love. That's where we start, right? In all of this. And you can find all of his work at his website, drjamesthorpe.com. And he is one of the authors of this, frankly, horrifying study that we kind of all knew was going to show exactly what you found. But bad blood His new study warns of wide scale blood contamination from the COVID shots. This is not over, not by a long shot. Dr. James Thorpe, welcome to the SJ Show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me, Shannon.
Now, how have you been? It's been a couple months since I've had you in the Joy Virtual Studio, and I just want to check in on you and how you're doing, what you're working on. We're going to get into this study. It's very, very concerning, but overall, how's it going? What are you worried about? What's making you hopeful right now in terms of battling this mass poisoning? I just want to take your temperature before we get started.
Right. Doing great, working very, very hard. I've been working on these two manuscripts relentlessly, hundreds, if not 1,000 or more hours put in on both parts of this manuscript. It is in print, in preprint, and is currently being peer reviewed. But you nailed it. The concern, the elephant in the room, I think, for the last 5 years is these COVID-19 vaccine byproducts that appear to be biologically active. And why in the world is the blood banking system ignoring them? And why in the world is the blood banking system and the government and the hospitals not allowing donor designated blood in many states? So this is a very serious issue. And I want to clarify this upfront and personal. We're all in this together. This is not a vax versus unvaxxed issue. No, it's not. In fact, it may be that some of the vaccinated are more at risk for adverse reactions from donor blood than unvaccinated. So we're all in this together. And I would simply ask you this. We all have seen the revelation from Senator Ron Johnson, from several other senators, multiple experts exposing the government being complicit in hiding safety signals from the COVID-19 vaccine. Well, let me just pose this question. If the government were hiding safety signals from an injection, a shot that was given to 80% of Americans, how much easier would it be to hide contaminated blood that is only given to 1.5% of Americans annually? And the answer to that is really simple. It's very easy for them. Is our government and the healthcare and the pharmaceutical industries, are they willing to kill and injure to protect their revenue stream of $1.7 trillion per year? Are they willing to do that? Of course they are, and they have. So it's not unexpected that they would be thwarting the efforts to screen blood, as we've called for in these two papers.
Unbelievable. Well, let's talk about the papers, which are linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show, part 1 and part 2, on the potential implications of COVID-19 vaccination for blood donation. You mentioned biologically active ingredients from the COVID shots that were injected into 80% of the American population during the rollout of Operation Warp Speed and into the Biden administration. Can you talk about what biologically active means and what type of contamination? What are you finding? What did you find in the blood?
Well, first of all, part 1 focuses on 9 case reports. And by the way, I want to mention, nobody has had the courage, nobody in the world has had the courage to address this, except for one group in Japan, and it made it to preprint only, and they were hushed up.
Wow.
And that was that's very important. So, yeah, I'm first author on both papers, and usually I give authorship over to my younger co-authors, and they they respectfully decline and ask me to first author it, which I'm happy to do
Yeah.
because of the fallout and the attacks which have already started. So, what are
Well,
biological?
let's start there. I do want to talk about the findings in the study. I am interested in the politics of this and why, even within the medical freedom community, this has been controversial. This has been covered up. And what I'm hearing from you is that you're the tip of the spear here because, frankly, everyone else is afraid to do it, which is really interesting. You have published this study independently. You're putting your name behind it. It, like you mentioned, it's out in preprint. But what is it about this? I mean, there are all kinds of studies out there. The medical freedom movement and MAHA and all of these different publications and entities are very comfortable talking about VAERS reporting and VSafe data and the dangers and the side effects and all these things. Like, what is it specifically that you think makes this such a hot issue, a hot topic, and potentially politically dangerous?
Many things. First and foremost, most Americans don't understand that guess who oversees the safety of the blood banking in the United States of America? The CDC and the FDA, the same captured corrupt organizations that hid the vaccine injuries, right? They hid
Mm-hmm.
it from the American people. And by the way, it's growing to be globally a $32 billion industry. And then number three, I'll add to the fact that, okay, sure, there is a potential for blood shortages, but we have a fiduciary, we have a ethical, a moral obligation to make sure that the blood is safe. We've been through the blood scandals of the 80s and the
Mm-hmm.
90s. I've lived through them. I saw a generation of hemophiliacs literally wiped out from contaminated blood from HIV, which
Wow.
the government dragged their heels on. Same thing with hepatitis C. So,
Wow.
yeah, there is an MO here. It's clear. It's repetitive violation of safety issues or doing the least possible to maximize their profit.
Hmm.
This is especially what you might say, your readers might say, Thorpe, why do you care about this? You're an OBGYN doctor. You take care of pregnant women. That's right. That's exactly why I care about it. Why? Because I've taken care of pregnant women and preborn for 47 years. And guess what? Pregnant women have 10 to 13 fold greater risk of requiring a blood transfusion than the general population based
Right.
on time. That's from
Right.
Patterson and colleagues. So, and you're not transfusing and risking just one human being, the mother. No, at least two, if not multiple human beings, depending on whether or not you have a multiple gestation. Um,
Mm.
the second reason, and this is really important, Shannon and audience to understand, Rogam, R-H, not Rogaine for guys, Rogam, Rhogam. One of the broadcasters got that confused. Why are pregnant women taking Rogaine? They're not. They're taking Rogam if they're Rh negative, and their baby is Rh positive because it prevents subsequent Rh disease. Now,
Hmm.
we've used it for 30 plus years. It's very effective on preventing Rh disease and subsequent pregnancy. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? One vial of Rogam, half a teaspoon, injected into a pregnant woman at 28 weeks to prevent this disease. Guess what? It comes from thousands of different donors. Just
Okay.
that small aliquot,
Wow.
that small amount. Maybe 5,000 donors. It's pooled plasma. So
Hmm.
this is why it's probably the most frequently asked question of me over the last 5 years. Hey, Dr. Thorpe, is it safe for me to get the Rogam injection?
Wow. Wow. So it sounds as if, we're talking about blood banks being contaminated with byproducts of the COVID vaccines, which are still showing up, and you call them biologically active byproducts and ingredients. This could impact the unvaccinated, people who chose to not take a COVID shot. It could essentially contaminate their blood through that transfusion, but it could also be incredibly dangerous for people who have been vaccinated and or boosted because it compounds the issue in their body. And so this is something that you have proven, you say in this report, that this exists. It's also something that is being covered up right now and suppressed by our current CDC and FDA, by the way, under the purview and the leadership of Bobby Kennedy Jr. at HHS. So, it's no longer Anthony Fauci, the bad guy, Catherine Burke's the bad guy, the Trump or the Biden administration. Like, this is happening within our own administration, and it's political. I think it also points to a very, very horrifying reality that 5 years post injection rollout, people are still. I mean, this is still active, and it's not clearing out. It's not staying at the injection site. This is continuing to exist within the blood of people who were shot with the vaccines. They didn't know it. And that is, I mean, that's disturbing enough.
Absolutely.
So
It is. I do
okay.
want to just clarify. I wouldn't categorize our two studies as proving that
Okay.
the blood is killing and injuring patients. And if you read our papers, we're very careful. This is a peer-reviewed medical journal, soon to be publication. So we have to be very careful with our language. In part one, we present 9 cases internationally, which the family believed that the individuals were killed or injured by the vaccine. And so we present those cases, and this was IRB approved. Okay. Let's take baby Alex, case number 1. Baby Alex was born to a beautiful young couple, a beautiful pregnancy. Before birth, some anomalies, some malformations of his heart were noted. And this is a routine procedure. Baby Alex was then delivered at a tertiary care medical center and set up for cardiac surgery, reconstruction of those heart abnormalities. It's very common surgery. It's very well tolerated, right? The family begged the hospital to use donor designated blood, which the donor did not get the vaccine. The hospital blew them away. They said, no, too much paperwork. We're not doing that. Whatever their flimsy excuse was. And then they proceeded to transfuse baby Alex, because in a surgery like this, routine, commonly blood is needed. Well, within hours of this blood transfusion, the catheter, the IV catheter, was clotted. And the hospital said, oh, it's no problem. This happens all the time. Well, and we can treat it. Well, guess what? 20 or so days later, that clot, Shannon, went from baby Alex's lower leg, close to his ankle, all the way up to the tibial vein, the femoral vein, the inferior vena cava, the right side of the fetal heart, the right atrium, and into the superior vena cava. Baby Alex died. Baby Alex died. And then when they tried to get records, the hospital dragged their heels, said, oh, we don't have any record of this baby you're talking about. The family believes, it's their opinion, that they were dragging their heels in order to impinge the statute of limitations and the ability of the family to sue the hospital. Now, that's just one case. Case 8, I want to review carefully, is a beautiful young pregnant woman. At the time, she was a young 30-something, 5th pregnancy, 4 prior term vaginal deliveries, uncomplicated at home.
Right, healthy.
She delivered all of her children at home, which is probably a good idea at this point in time. I would have said that 10 years ago. But, she, by the way, was Rh negative. She had ROGAM times 5 with her prior pregnancies, including a miscarriage. And so then she delivered. Everything was beautiful, beautiful baby. And about 30 minutes after delivery, she started hemorrhaging. And the nurse midwife did everything perfectly. got called an ambulance, got her to the hospital. She's stable at the hospital. She required about 8 units of blood. Well, guess what? With the 8 units of blood, this lady went into severe disseminated intravascular coagulation, which is pretty a well-reported complication of the COVID-19 vaccine.
Wow.
Severe DIC, almost died, was in the hospital for 32 days.
Mm.
32 days. And
Mhm.
then at about 6 to 8 weeks after delivery, had a blood clot in her leg.
Oh,
Heretofore, there's no family history of that. She's got like 9 siblings, mother and father, and she was totally healthy. So again, this family believes that this was related to the blood transfusions.
hmm. And so you reviewed 9 case reports here, and this is absolutely tragic. Is it normal for a baby who has received a blood transfusion 28 days after birth to develop such a fast growing, moving, massive clot in their body? That seems to be, I mean, incredibly bizarre and unlikely. Like, is this just a normal thing that happens, or did
No,
this?
unprecedented. This calls to mind. Listen, in all of these 9 cases, all 9 cases, what was a unifying feature? The same thing, which is a complication from the vaccine, the most common, blood clot. So blood
Right.
clot in every single one of them. So this is one of the things we looked at in part 2. So no, a blood clot like that, it brings to mind the studies of the embalmers, right? And the surgeons pulling these long white calamari-like clots out of living and dead people, right? The embalmers have never seen this before. And that brings to mind the excellent and important publications. Again, a very close and important related publications. The first by Haviland and colleagues. Haviland has published a worldwide questionnaire about embalmers and what
Mhm.
the likelihood of them seeing these calamari clots in the demised, in the individual's decedents who they were embalming.
Right.
And it was
That's Major Tom Haviland, amazing friend of the Shannon Joy Show. We featured him and his work here on the show. And we're talking to Dr. James Thorpe right today, just so that lay people watching this right now, like white, fibrous, calamari looking massive clots have never, ever, ever, ever in the history of humanity been found inside people's bodies. This is completely unique. Am I correct to
well, I
post
would
vaccine?
I
Okay.
would be a little bit more cautious on that.
Okay.
White clots have been previously described, but rarely. So
Okay.
you're right, except for that.
Okay.
And by the way, the companion article to Haviland, Major Haviland, who by the way he's a veteran like I am, a United States Air Force veteran. Also, he's still active duty, I believe.
Wow.
Santiago and colleagues published the paper that analyzed this, did this very advanced called Raman spectroscopy on these clots.
Mm,
And they concluded in their study that this was most likely misfolded protein, spike
right.
protein, right? So the study by Haviland, the first study, the second study by Santiago, these were these were just published July 1st, 2026
Mm.
in the International Journal of Innovative Medical Research, and very important articles, and I reviewed those articles. And by the way, they're very closely related to the 2 articles which we will soon be published in a peer-reviewed medical journal.
Unbelievable. So the 9 case studies, and you found now, did you actually take a look at the blood? You mentioned biologically active byproducts or ingredients from COVID-19 vaccines. Did you look at what's actually in the blood, the contaminated blood, and what did you glean?
We did not analyze the blood. We would have needed to have had a a mandatory extensive IRB full review in
Okay.
order to do that. But what we did do was publish extensively on all the other investigators around the world that have. For
Mm,
example, we look at Nick Hulsher and colleagues who have documented these biologically active byproducts of COVID-19 vaccine present for over 3.5 years.
hmm,
I have patients, Shannon, and vaccine injured patients that are 5 years out from their last vaccine,
it's
and they
insane.
still have massive amounts of the spike protein antibody as
Jeez.
analyzed by LabCorp. We're talking about over way above their upper threshold assay limit, over 25,000. So this is not surprising. We're also looking at other byproducts. We now know that the mRNA from the vaccine also stays for an extended period of time. Multiple authors have shown that. Goes across the placenta, goes in the fetus, is distributed all over the fetus. And not just the mRNA, but what about the plasmid DNA? The plasmid
Right.
DNA, which McKernan, and by the way, one of our authors is David Speaker. David Speaker is one of the world expert geneticists. He wrote the article on with Kevin McKernan on the plasmid DNA and the SV40. We're also looking at
Jeez.
fibrin microclot aggregates that
Oh
are,
my gosh.
and many of these, by the way, these patients, at least one of them, when the blood was being, when one of the patients was bleeding, she would collect the blood and actually take pictures of it, of these microclot fibrin aggregates that, and many people have described this after vaccination. So we have, do we have smoking gun absolute proof? No. But then in the second part of the study, we actually go to the VAERS database, the CDC FDA VAERS database, and we looked at relevant lower level terms in that database. For example, hemorrhage in pregnancy,
Mm,
transfusion. Um, we also looked at transfusion complications. And then we looked at these diseases from misfolded proteins, including prion disease, including other more concerning diseases like Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease,
yeah.
and other diseases like we're very concerned. Parkinson's disease is a
My word.
disease of misfolded proteins, and these have all far exceeded the safety signals in the government's own database. So we have a large amount of indirect and direct evidence that there is reason to be concerned, and we call for an immediate screening and more research on this topic.
Immediate screening of particularly blood, blood donations and blood donors. And if I hear you correctly, I mean this is unbelievable. Not only the spike protein still evident in the blood of vaccinated patients, but plasmid DNA, the mRNA, the SV40. This is a cancer causing agent. We didn't even talk about the lipid nanoparticles and what that can impact. I mean, all of these, and it's, I mean, it just is, it's cancers, autoimmune disorders, neurological disorders, blood clots, strokes. It's, I mean, it boggles my mind that this is not being studied at NIH. I mean, I think I tweet Dr. Jay Bhattacharya every 3 days, like, at
Yeah.
the NIH. Like, "Why aren't you studying this? Why aren't you studying this? You have access to billions of dollars. You can study anything you want on the face of the planet." And the fact that you have to do this independently, that TWC and the McCullough Foundation and people like Nick Hulsher have to raise money to do this work independently. We have to go to Germany or Japan or another country to gather some of this data. We have everything at our fingertips. We have the VAERS, we have the VSafe, we had the Pfizer documents, we have what they've documented in their own clinical trials prior to the rollout of Operation Warp Speed. It's like mountains of data. mountains of data that you guys continuously and diligently continue to build upon, yet it's hitting a brick
summarily
wall.
dismissed, right?
I just, why are they dismissing it? I mean, do you ever get to talk to Jay Bhattacharya? Does he have a reason? I mean, in your circles, is there, like, what are the reasons for a so-called friendly administration to MAHA and medical freedom and all of the things? Like, why wouldn't they study this? What is the difficulty there? I just don't understand it.
Well, clear and simple. This is their project. This is what they rolled out. This is our DOD, our
Yeah,
Department of War, that rolled this out over the entire world. This was our research that funded the Wuhan virus. So very clearly, I mean, listen, I voted for
yeah,
Trump 3 times, but forget it. I mean,
yeah.
this is a man who cares more about making money than he does the welfare of Americans.
It's true.
He is a man who has literally said the greatest accomplishment of any president in the history of the United States of America is Operation Warp Speed.
Yeah,
It's not going to happen, Shannon. We're not going to blow the whistle on ourselves.
it's true.
The government is too corrupt. NIH, I don't care who's heading it. I'm very fond and have a relationship with Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. I respect Secretary Kennedy very much, but their legs are cut off. These entire portions of the government, including the CDC, FDA, NIH, they're all corrupted, terminally corrupted, and there's holdovers in there. They won't do anything.
It is quite disturbing. Quite disturbing. Dr. James Thorpe is with us today. Please visit his website, support his efforts. Dr. James Thorpe, no E. I misspelled it again in the title of the show. I'm kicking myself. drjamesthorpe.com. His book is in pre-sale, In God We Heal, and his other publications as well on his website. Both of part one and part two of this study are linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. I hate doing this show because I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day political hell. I feel like I've done these shows with you and Dr. Peter McCullough, and we're so thankful for the wellness company. They sponsor the Shannon Joy Show. They are truly a parallel institution, not only helping people heal from the spike poisoning and their COVID-19 vaccine injuries through a variety of the products that they've created, but they're also doing the heavy lifting of actually commissioning and funding studies, which is extraordinary. And so it's valuable. I mean, we need to keep pushing this out, even though it's falling on deaf ears, even though we're hitting a brick wall at the CDC and HHS. And with this administration, we still need to build the body of evidence so that when we finally can crack through, we have it all there. So all of this is valuable and incredibly important. And I commend you, Dr. Thorpe, for just continuing to, regardless of hitting that brick wall, just continuing to do the work. It's absolutely critical and crucial. We're not going to get any help from the federal government in the near future. People who are concerned about this, people who are concerned about what's going on at the blood banks and in terms of blood transfusions, people who are vaccinated or unvaccinated, who are worried about shedding and potentially being exposed to these toxins, even though they declined the shots. What would you say to them? What are the first steps to getting healthy, being healthy as we can be in this toxic environment that they have created for us? I love the title of your book, In God We Heal. I know that's where you go first, which I love. But your thoughts on what people can do to grapple with the situation that we're in today and protect themselves and their families?
Well, I'm looking at the greatest example of what your audience should do, and that's Shannon Joy. I'm looking at her
Ah,
now. You need to speak up. You need to broadcast the truth and demand better of our government. And nobody does this better than your show, Shannon. You're a beacon of truth in a world of darkness. Support Shannon Joy, support her show, and
thank you.
be advocates for yourself, much like Shannon is. She lives by what she practices, what she preaches in terms of personal health, and look at what great shape she's in, and she's very, very. She takes the burden, the onus of being her own advocate. That's what I want all the listeners to do. There's no better advocate for you than you.
Right.
And especially women out there, I know that you make the medical decisions for most all of human beings from birth to death.
True.
So it's not us guys. We're just wired differently. We listen to our wives. But please do your own due diligence. Don't trust AI, because AI just distills from the corrupted medical journals. But do your due diligence. If you want to do research, look for Substack articles that aren't retracted by the conglomerate of the medical industrial complex that pulls articles that threaten their gravy train.
Love
Um,
that.
the
Yeah.
medical journals are corrupt, all of them.
No, they
Mhm.
absolutely are, and I have found myself depending more and more on independent Substack channels and pages. There's a lot of really great information there. I think anything obviously coming from your circle of people. So Dr. James Thorpe, Dr. Peter McCullough, Nicholas Hulcher, Dr. Drew, Dr. Kelly Victory. I mean, you truly have created a a group of very diligent, independent health providers, researchers, scientists, and doctors. And so, for me, I start there. In terms of getting good information. And yeah, I mean, I start with nature and God first. That's just my lifestyle. I interface as little as humanly possible with the medical industrial complex. I do not partner with the government for my health. I don't take any of the recommendations or advice of the CDC, even the good stuff. I'll find my own advice from my own doctors that I trust. And, I pursue natural healing as first course. And I only then would move to any type of pharmaceutical product. I can't see myself ever being injected with anything ever again in my life. I just,
Agreed.
in vaccines, flu shots, any of that, shingle shots, not happening to my body. And if I can help, it's not going to happen to the bodies of my husband or my children or my future grandchildren. But there are ways to clear spike. What are you seeing in terms of healing? I mean, are there any really great success stories of people who were jabbed, twice jabbed, triple jabbed, clearing out the spike, clearing out some of these contaminants and healing their bodies? There's not a ton out there in terms of great news, but what gives you hope and makes you excited in the future as we try to fix what was done to our culture and our society and our bodies?
Well, I think the state of the art right now is the ultimate spike detox formula by Dr. Peter McCullough, my
Okay.
partner. And does it work for everybody perfectly? 100% clearance? Of course not. And it's not an overnight deal. But
Mhm.
the ultimate spike detox has bromelain in it. It's got
Okay.
dandelion weed in root extract. It's got nattokinase and others. And these natural substances are bioactive and are potent anti-clot agents and
Okay.
interestingly anti-cholesterol agents as well. Now, what I've observed, and we at the Wellness Company are actually launching a formal study of this, but what I've observed in my patients is that when I have a patient, say I have a close friend who's asked me for advice and got the anti-spike protein antibody from LabCorp, it
Mhm.
exceeded the upper limits of normal. It was over 25,000, and he's very concerned. And he's 5 years out. So what do I do? What do I do, Dr. Thorpe? This is what I told him: get the ultimate spike detox,
Mhm.
take it as recommended, and let's look again in 6 months. Now, he took a quick peek. He looked again in 5 months, and what he saw was a pretty significant reduction of about clinically significant, about 10%. Now, that's a
Wow.
minimum of 10%, assuming that it was 25,001, but his
Mhm.
might have been 30 or 50,000.
Right.
But I'm guessing that you need to stick with a course for at least 6 months or a year, and I'm guessing that if it brought down the total spike antibody, by 20% or by 50%, that would be a grand slam. Um,
Wow.
by the way, many of us struggle, especially people my age, with high cholesterol and some plaque, and even triglycerides. What's been shown in a separate study by Chen and colleagues that published that there's a substantial reduction in the plaques on the carotid artery and other arteries of the brain that
Okay.
were directly measured with ultrasound by taking a year's worth of nattokinase.
Interesting.
So there's other benefits besides just reduction of the spike protein.
Okay. And what about the other stuff, the other nasty stuff, like the SV40 and the mRNA and all of that? I mean, is there any research
Well,
on?
we need, unfortunately, nobody will fund our studies. I have a 501(c)(3) right now with 6 major investigators, and it's a 501(c)(3), and we have 2 studies that are currently IRB approved. This
Okay.
is the Advanced Biological Research Group, abrg.org. Look up
Okay.
the founding members. I'm one of them. Dr. Steve Hatfield is one of them.
Okay.
Dr. Kim Biss is one of them. Dr. Dan McDyer is one of them. Kirsten Cosgrove. These are heroes. And guess what? We've donated thousands and tens of thousands of dollars of our own money and our
Yeah.
own hours. Nobody will fund it. The government,
Unbelievable.
Jay Bhattacharya won't fund it. NIH won't
He's
fund it.
got so much
DOD.
money. He's got so much money. He's got money coming out of his ears, come out of his elbows. I just don't. It's just crazy. I wanted to ask you about this. Dr. Kevin McKernan is in Japan. I don't know if you've heard about this. I think Dr.
Yeah.
Mary Telly Bowden has done a couple shows on this, and he has this blood cleaning system he can't do in the United States of America, but people are traveling to Japan. Lindsay House, one of the most persistent, highly platformed, severely vaccine injured women in the country, has recently traveled to Japan. I believe she stayed 3 or 4 months there. She's saying that he healed her, that he cured her. It's a little controversial. I haven't, I've heard opinions on both sides, but do you know anything about that, or are
Yes.
yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts are in that.
Yeah, and Dr. Kevin McKernan was one of the authors on with Dr. David Speaker, who was the
Okay.
first author, and Dr. David Speaker is he's a PhD. He is a doctor. Now, Kevin McKernan, he's a great investigator. He is not a PhD or a physician. He's a
Okay.
great guy, and I highly regard his work. But I just
Okay.
don't want to mislead your audience.
Thank you.
But I think there's a lot of promise. The obvious question is, why aren't we doing this in the United States of America? I do have some concerns. Why do these people these vaccine injured that have been thrown under the bus by our government, by our president, by the NIH, by the CDC, by the FDA, that lied to all the Americans and told them this was safe, and now they're severely injured, and they have to go to Japan and go bankrupt for the therapy.
Yeah.
The therapy isn't proven.
Okay.
There's IVIG, which is used as well in several of these patients. And that's kind of a double-edged sword, because we talked about RhoGAM, not Rogaine, RhoGAM before. IVIG is even worse, because it's not thousands of pooled plasma from blood donors. It's tens of thousands, right?
Oh,
So
interesting.
one
Okay.
course of IVIG might have 10 or 20 or 30,000 donors contributing to pooled plasma. So, that's not being screened. And I'm just saying it's a double-edged sword. I don't know
Yeah.
the risk-benefit ratio. But yes, some of these patients seem to have improvement, and I'm really grateful for that.
Absolutely. And just so everyone knows, I'm in contact with Kevin McKernan. We have tried to get him on the show because he's in Japan. It's really difficult with the time difference, and of course, he's incredibly busy. I mean, he's really like renegade. Like he's like going, and I commend him for that. I'm going to keep an eye on it for
Me
sure.
too. You know,
Yeah.
he has a few videos that are damning of the
Mm,
blood supply.
mm,
He goes off on the blood supply,
hmm.
at some point in time, if you can't get him on, definitely pull up some of his videos and show him to the audience about, he's I can tell you he's just as concerned, if not more concerned than I am, and he's been
Okay.
speaking out like I have for 5 years.
Okay. You're such a treasure, Dr. Thorpe. I really appreciate you. And
Yeah.
you are dogged, you are persistent, you are sober, analytical, not political, independent, everything that we need. And we need more of you. We need people who
Mhm.
are willing to speak the truth, even though it's at great cost to them and their reputations could be threatened. You have put together a critical study, again, part one, part two, linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. drjamesthorpe.com, Thorpe, no E. Please support his work. Help to fund him, buy his book. It's called In God We Heal. And, just support him in any way you can, because we're on the periphery. My show, Dr. Thorpe, these organizations, the parallel institutions that have come up and are doing this very dangerous work today in the US, we're still being suppressed. We're still being censored. We're still being attacked, even by this administration and a so-called friendly HHS. So we're still in this. We're not much better off than we were
Mm.
during the Biden administration. We continue to need your support. So thank you, Dr. Thorpe. A couple more minutes. Anything else that you want to get off your chest or that you think the audience should know before I let you go?
No, I just want to say all glory goes to God and our
Oh,
Savior, Lord
sure.
Jesus Christ, and yes, that is my most recent book. It's a 365-day Christian daily devotional, and it's only written by medical freedom fighters. And as I tagged you on the last interview, on the second edition, Shannon, you're going to be in there because you're going to contribute because you are a medical freedom fighter. My
Oh, I
book,
appreciate it.
published last year, was Sacrifice: How the Deadliest Vaccine in History Targeted the Most Vulnerable. Obviously, that's my patients, pregnant women.
Mhm.
And by the way, all the proceeds from both of these books go to a 501(c)(3) in the wellness company called the Wellness Initiative Fund, and the wellness company matches the donations, and
Oh
it's
my
only
gosh.
used for the vaccine injured. It's only used
Oh,
for the vaccine injured.
that is a great reason in and of itself to patronize and support the wellness company. By the way, full disclosure, they are sponsors of the Shannon Joy Show. I chased them for years, and because I love the work that they do, and we came to an agreement about 6 or 7, 8 months ago. They've been amazing, and they have really just been an amazing source supporting you, your work, Nick Hulsher, Peter McCullough, the whole group, and we really appreciate them. So yes, amazing. Well, thank you for all of your good work. We will have you again in on the SJ show in the next couple of months. You are going obviously to be a regular on this show, and you just keep up the great work. If you need anything, you let me know. Okay.
Thank you, and God bless you and your family, Shannon.
Same, right back at you. And stay healthy, stay strong, stay faithful, stay hopeful, because we're just getting started here. All right. He is Dr. James Thorpe. Again, you can find him, drjamesthorpe.com, drjamesthorpe.com. His book, In God We Heal, an amazing discussion from an amazing, amazing warrior for truth. We really appreciate him. So, everyone, how's everyone doing? I see you, Skillful Lark. I wanted to get right to the interview. So I didn't say hello to everyone on the live chat. We've gone 53 minutes. Usually my first segment is about, I don't know, 30 or 40 minutes. Really important research from Dr. Thorpe. Again, it's linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. We're going to take a break in just a moment, a quick commercial break. We are sponsored and pretty much 100% supported from not only you, the listeners and viewers of the Shannon Joy Show, who have donated at theshannonjoy.com, which is my independent website, but also the sponsors. That's how we keep the lights on here. On the Shannon Joy Show, as you know, not left, not right, just the truth, straight up, no chaser. I'm independent. I don't take money from Republicans or Democrats or super PACs. I don't have secret billionaires lurking in the corner that are supporting the show. Everything is created through my independent production company, Joy Media, and I self-produce the show every day. So it's you, me, and our advertisers, and that's the way that I like it. But that means that in order to support the show, I would so appreciate if you considered patronizing the advertisers of the Shannon Joy Show. I'm very careful, very picky, and I vet my advertisers. Most of them I chase down. They don't come to me, I go to them because I've used their products. I've investigated and researched their companies. I've used their analysis from Peter Schiff over at Schiff Gold to obviously the wellness company, friends over at the satellite phone store. I know the owners. I know the primaries. I've gone and met them, many of them in person. And that's just the way that I roll here on the Shannon Joy Show. And I get to do it because I'm the boss. No one tells me who advertises on my show. I get to decide. And so every advertiser is vetted. Most of their products and services I use. So if you are in the market when we go to commercial break, I know it's annoying, but listen, we do 90 to 120 minutes of original content every day here on the SJ Show and about 10 minutes of ads. So I get it. No one wants to watch commercials, but again, that's how we keep the lights on. And for those of you who do patronize, thank you so much. LT Oracle of Truth, thank you so much. I patronize both TWC and North Idaho Tallow. Thank you so much, LT Oracle of Truth. By the way, I talk to my advertisers. They love you guys. They know the SJ audience. You make sure they know that you're from the SJ audience, and it's just very, very cool. Buskman, great to see you on the live chat. Texas Gal Forever. RJ Westex, great to see you. Hey, Gaelic Monkey on Rumble. I'm going to check the YouTube live chat. I'm going to check the Twitter live chat in the break. I'm going to get some of your comments. And when we come back, we are going to begin to dive in. We're going to pivot, okay? I have read this piece. I have listened to it on Substack via the audio. And I've printed it out. It's about 11 pages. It is killer, absolutely killer. The currency killer, Scott Bessent, exposed by the Leah files. I've also reached out to Leah. She has my cell phone. We're connected. Hopefully we're going to chat later this afternoon, and I want to get her on my show. Her work is impeccable. And you guys need to know what's going on. They're not just attacking our bodies through mass injection campaigns and the contamination and the poisoning of our air and our water, the stripping of the nutrients from our food. They are also attacking our livelihoods, our right to pursue happiness, our money, our dollar, our economy. The calls are coming from inside the house. Donald Trump is not the savior. He is the Trojan horse. And he has ushered in his administration, Scott Bessent, the man who helped George Soros break the British pound in the 1990s. And he has broken and destroyed 5 currencies since then. It is the Bessent pattern, and it is exposed. Trump is exposed. He stands to benefit to the tune of trillions with a T, trillions of dollars directly linked to the collapse of the US dollar. And it appears, as Leah exposes and proves in her piece, that this is all on purpose. USD1, the last currency standing, the stable coin owned by Donald Trump, the authorization given to him by Scott Bessent as they together put the plan in place to collapse the US dollar and funnel billions, if not trillions of dollars into their own personal private coffers. I told you this president was the plunder president. I told you that this was what he was going to do when he nominated and approved Scott Bessent 2 years ago. We were right about this on the Shannon Joy Show, and this piece from Leah proves it. We're going to go through it in just a moment on the SJ Show. Buckle up, because I am not holding back here, and everyone needs to know what's going down. We can stop it. We can stop it. We can thwart their plans, and we can also protect ourselves. So you're going to want to pay attention to the next segment. Please smash that thumbs up button right now. Share with everyone you know. And I will be taking your comments and your questions when we come back. We're going to go through this piece, okay? We will be back in a moment right here on The Shannon Joy Show. The Bank of Japan and the Bank of Japan and the Federal Reserve just flinched, signaling that gold and silver are the only hedge left for wealth protection. This is the topic of a brilliant zero hedge piece, which I recently reviewed in a Substack article, which is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. Something big just happened in the markets, and it could change everything. Japan's yen has collapsed to its weakest level against the dollar in 4 decades. After years of printing money and keeping rates near zero, the cheap funding that fueled the famous yen carry trade is drying up. Japanese investors and global funds are now selling U.S. stocks and bonds to bring that money home. Both stocks and bonds are getting hit at the same time, and yields are climbing. So here in the United States, newly appointed Fed Chair Kevin Warsh tried to hold the line and talk about resilience. The markets weren't buying it. The Dow dropped hard, longer-term yields jumped, and Warsh himself admitted that the bond market is starting to set higher rates because people no longer fully trust the government IOUs. With nearly $40 trillion in national debt and $3 billion a day going to just the interest payments, higher borrowing costs leave only one real option: more money printing, more debasement of the dollar, and that's exactly why physical gold and silver are so important right now. While paper assets get squeezed by rising yields and fading confidence, precious metals quietly protect the purchasing power families have worked so hard to build. Now is the time to consider physical gold and silver as a critical hedge. The Shannon Joy Show sponsor and regular contributor, Peter Schiff, has been warning about this debt imprint path for years. He's been clear, he's been consistent, and I highly recommend his team if you have questions about metals. Visit schiffgold.com/joy for competitively priced physical gold and silver, live support for information on gold-backed IRAs, and tons of resources on these emerging markets. Do not wait for the next wave of debasement. Lock in now and make sure you tell them that Shannon Joy sent you. Schiffgold.com/joy. That is schiffgold.com/joy. So, as you all know, life happens, and sometimes, regardless of how good we take care of ourselves, we get sick or a family member gets sick. And frankly, it never happens at a convenient time. Well, what happens if someone in your family gets sick at 2 a.m.? What are you going to do? Would you rather wait for care or already have the medications you need on hand? That's why the Wellness Company created the Medical Emergency Kit, a doctor-prescribed kit containing 8 life-saving prescription medications, including antibiotics, ivermectin, and more, designed to help to treat more than 30 common conditions like UTIs, pneumonia, and strep throat. But does having a treatment on hand really make that much of a difference? Well, to answer that question, the Wellness Company conducted the first study of its kind. Among more than 500 verified medical emergency kit owners, 86% avoided a clinic, urgent care, or hospital, and more than 80% reported meaningful improvement within just 3 days. That's amazing. Simply complete a quick online medical questionnaire. If approved by a licensed physician, your kit will ship directly to you in just a couple days. twc.health/joy. That's twc.health/joy to get your TWC emergency kit now. Use the promo code JOY for $30 off plus free shipping. This kit is amazing. I love it. You're going to love it too. twc.health/joy. And make sure you use that joy promo code every time you shop at the Wellness Company.
I never planned to start a skincare company. I was just trying to help my family. We were dealing with skin issues that conventional products simply were not fixing. And the more I researched, the more I questioned what was actually in the products we were using every single day. As a mom, I couldn't ignore it, and I became deeply concerned about our constant exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals, especially in products we were putting on our skin and on our children. So I started making my own. That's how North Idaho Tallow began. Today, I handcraft every product myself in North Idaho using thoughtfully chosen ingredients like grass-fed tallow, jojoba oil, and pure essential oils. You will never find synthetic fragrance oils in any of my products. Everything is made in small batches, filled by hand, carefully weighed, because my standard is simple. If I wouldn't use it on my own family, I will not sell it to yours. What started as a way to care for my family has grown into something I'm incredibly proud to share with yours. This is North Idaho Tallow. Traditional ingredients, thoughtfully made, no compromises.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show, second half of the show. And we're going to get into the financials. So I'm going to try to keep this at a layperson level. I don't want to go too deeply into the minutia of what is going down right now, which has been brilliantly exposed by Leah of Leah Files. She has a Substack. She has a big following on Twitter. And this piece, The Currency Killer, exposing Scott Bessent and Donald Trump as purposefully putting in place a series of events designed to collapse the US dollar and completely devalue that, completely impact the standard of living for every American, and they will profit from that all the way to the bank. It is an amazing piece, 11 pages printed out. I suggest that every one of you print this out, read it, share it. It's linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. And I'm also in contact with Leah. I would like to have her on the show to go into this. Her content is phenomenal. The video content, her explainers, the Twitter content. And then, I mean, this is one of those pieces. This is one of those blockbuster pieces that I will be referring back to, I think, for the next six to 10 months, because these things are being put in place right now. And what I love about her piece, it is written in layperson language. It is not overly complicated. It is concise. It is sourced. It is echoing stories that I have reported on the Shannon Joy Show with experts like Ed Dowd, Peter Schiff, Aaron Day, Jeff Berwick, Catherine Austin Fitz, Michael Yon over the past 2 to 3 years. And so all of this is coming in place. Again, I've reviewed this twice actually. And this is going to help people understand what is really going down. So I did post this out. I want to say hello to all of you though first. Let me check on Twitter. Hey, everyone on Twitter. Great to see you guys. Ken from the universe is with us on Twitter. Hey, Ken. Poisoned by the government of the world. Why is it taking so long for people to realize that it was a planned depopulation agenda? I'm going to like that, Ken, and I'm also going to follow you back, because anyone who is watching on Twitter right now, if you comment, say hello, and make a comment, I'm going to follow you back. I always do that for the Twitter audience. Also on the Rumble live chat, great to see all of you. Buskman has this question. Shannon, when are you bringing Tom Haviland back? Well, Buskman, have him call me or text me. He has all of my contact information. I'm just so busy. I mean, I usually have a list of 24 people that I know I need to get onto the show, that I have to work back into the rotation. I'm just a one-woman show. So I don't have an assistant or a helper or a producer or a scheduler or any of the sort. I don't even have someone to, push the buttons while I'm doing my show. So if I don't have people on, it's not because I don't want to, it's just because there's only so much time in the day. So Buskman, please have him reach out to me. I'd love to have Major Tom Haviland on again. Hey, Garth Hilton, great to see you on the live chat. This comment from Garth: nothing in Washington, D.C. can be stopped. The only thing we can do is build relationships and get into the trenches together locally. Garth Hilton, I don't believe there are any solutions in Washington, D.C., but I absolutely believe that we can stop things, or at least throw a million wrenches into the works in Washington, D.C. And one of the reasons that I'm so jazzed up about this piece, The Currency Killer, Scott Bessent from the Leah Files, is that Leah doesn't just tell you about what the problem is and then offer no solution, or push you into a solution that is pre-programmed, a new political party, a new political hero to worship, someone who's going to save us in Washington, D.C. She absolutely doesn't. She actually ends this with like 3 pages of what she's personally considering doing. And I agree with all of her recommendations. And then what you can do, what we all can do to stop it. George Soros doesn't have to win. Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein cartel, of which Donald Trump is a part of, don't have to win. Donald Trump and USD1, the pump and dumps, the pay to play, and the grifting that he's putting in place with his family and his cronies, he doesn't have to win. We don't have to lose everything in America. We don't have to lose our freedom and our sovereignty. We don't have to allow them to destroy our economy. There is so much that we can do. And she has a whole list of ideas: filing FOIA requests, contacting senators and representatives, supporting certain acts, using cash, getting into gold and silver, building up local organizations to resist a lot of this. We can go to the state attorney generals. We can make it politically expensive for them through our voices and pushing certain people out. There is so much we can do. And she also includes all of the sources and documentation. Everything in her piece, again, 11 pages printed out, is sourced and documented. Most of these actions have been taken in plain sight. You don't have to even dig for it. They're promoting it. She just put the pieces together. And in this piece, she did it brilliantly. Now, I have warned about Scott Bessent and Donald Trump, the Trojan horse, for the better part of 10 years. I warned about Trump in 2015. I was right. I warned about Donald Trump in 2024, and it turns out that I am right. I warned about Scott Bessent incessantly until I was blue in the face, and it fell on deaf ears. This is what I pushed out today on X. Scott Bessent is the fox in the henhouse, and Trump, the Trojan horse, deployed him. Now, I told my audience 2 years ago that Donald Trump would deploy George Soros's protege, Scott Bessent, with the explicit purpose of crashing the US dollar via his position as Treasury Secretary. This is just one of the many, many reasons that I urged people in 2024 and 2025 to not only refuse to align with and or vote for Donald Trump, the man who locked us down in the first place, deployed Anthony Fauci and Catherine Burks, allowed the military to deploy Operation Warp Speed and the COVID scandemic. I urged everyone to not only align with and or vote for him, Donald Trump, but also to oppose his administration in every way possible. I asserted very clearly, and was attacked for it and deplatformed for it, that Trump was a Trojan horse for the great resetters. Tragically, my warnings fell on the deaf ears of most of the Maha movement and the people who are highly platformed today, and also MAGA. And I was basically, as you all know, excommunicated from the health freedom movement at large and even locally for my, quote, TDS and my anti-Trump heresy. In fact, the people that I organized and marched with and protested with in the dark days of COVID lockdown here locally have largely excommunicated me here locally, even in my own hometown. It's tragic because I refused to bow to my knee to Donald Trump and join the political cult. And so now the prediction that I made multiple times, so I was blue in the face, appears to be spot on given the recent revelations in this piece, The Currency Killer, Scott Bessent, presented by the Leah Files. But, you know, you can go back here. I just pulled up a couple of screenshots from this. November 11th, 2024. Welp, and this is what I posted on Twitter. Trump's pick for Treasury gets the Soros stamp of approval. Money manager Scott Bessent, 84 on failure, choosing a major and how finance is like journalism. I posted this on November 12th, 2024, Hot Show Today. Soros approved. Trump's top Treasury pick, Scott Bessent, helped George Soros collapse the British pound. What's up with that? And does it signal financial trouble ahead? I posted this in 2024. Trump's about to basically pick George Soros himself for Treasury Secretary. And I'm hearing crickets from conservative media. WTH. And I tagged Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity and Mark Levin. Why? Well, because Glenn Beck had done about 17,000 shows on the evil George Soros. Remember the puppets? Remember the production? Remember the crocodile tears and the weeping and gnashing of teeth from Glenn Beck regarding George Soros? Well, when Trump appointed George Soros's protege, his right-hand man, the guy who helped him collapse the British pound, which, by the way, Glenn Beck did a whole show on, crickets from Glenn Beck. Do you think that's just an oversight? You think he didn't know that? This was when I removed Glenn Beck as a trusted source for me. But yeah, I mean, I called them all out. I did multiple shows on it. And tragically, I was right. And I'm the only girl in conservative media who will desperately pray every day that I'm not right about the things that I say are going to happen. But this is coming. Linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. The Substack is at Leah Files, the currency killer. And this is what she writes in the beginning. Between August 11th and August 24 of 2026, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent executed a sequence of decisions that, taken together, amount to the most aggressive restructuring of the American financial system in modern history. He did it in 13 days, and it's being buried by left-wing news media, right-wing news media, financial news media, and many even within the independent media apparatus. On August 11th, Bessent killed the Corporate Transparency Act and ordered the FinCEN beneficial ownership database deleted. 3 days later, the president's family crypto company received a federal bank charter. 3 days after that, Scott Bessent published rules requiring every stablecoin in America to hold its reserves in treasury bills. The national debt crossed $40 trillion the next day. On August 19th, he doubled the Treasury's bond buyback program, the same mechanism he once used to make $3.5 billion when he broke Japan's currency. And on August 21st, he announced Operation Economic Outcast and threatened to cut entire countries off from the US dollar system. Now, Leah built a model to measure how close the United States of America is to a currency crisis, and she has infographics here that we're going to look at. She took 7 indicators that preceded every major currency collapse since 1992 and checked the US against each one. Unfortunately, all 7 are present, and I have that here as well. The historical record says that this has never happened, ever, without a crisis following within 24 months. The model, she writes, turned out to be the easy part. The hardest thing to explain is what she found behind the numbers. A system that appears designed not just to weaken the dollar, but to crash it and profit from that weakening. And the man running it has spent the last 40 years doing that in other countries. And that man is Scott Bessent, the protege of George Soros, the appointee of President Donald Trump, and the man that is making the Trumps a fortune, potentially trillions of dollars in USD1, the Trump family's private stablecoin corporation that seeks to profit at every time the US dollar, the actual dollar, is devalued. And she lays it out in crystal clear form in this 11-page piece, The Currency Killer. Unbelievable reporting by Leah. She goes on in this piece, the man behind the US dollar, Scott Bessent. She shows the Bessent system and what he has done, not just in the 1990s in the UK, but multiple times since. He helped George Soros collapse the British pound in 1992. He then was instrumental in collapsing the Japanese yen in 2013. He then sanctions collapsed currencies in Iran in 2025, in Argentina, the peso in 2025, and now she predicts that he is in process of collapsing the US dollar in 2026. And Trump knows it, and Trump plans to profit from it. In the piece, she talks about Operation Economic Outcast. On August 24, Bessent held a press conference. Listen up. Listen up. Those of you who are still worshiping at the altar of Donald Trump and are still in the MAGA cult, he's coming after you. And he's laughing all the way to the bank. On August 24th, Scott Bessent held a press conference and announced what he called the, quote, single greatest financial offensive ever marshaled against an adversary. He sanctioned nearly 60 corporations, individuals, and vessels connected to Iran. He introduced 5 new categories of secondary sanctions targeting digital assets, cryptocurrency, gold, aviation, and shipping. He seized $1 billion in Iranian cryptocurrency. Then he said, any entity that facilitates what he called money laundering on behalf of Iran under the guise of fighting a war with Iran will be removed from the US dollar system. The clock just started ticking. Now, he was applauded by people like Glenn Beck. By the way, Glenn Beck says we have to wait 10 years to really understand how brilliant Donald Trump, aka Scott Bessent, aka George Soros, aka Jeffrey Epstein really is. Glenn Beck, a total fraud, telling us to wait 10 years when we own nothing, when our currency is completely collapsed. Let's just give them more time. What a quack he is, Glenn Beck. When asked whether Chinese banks would be exempt, Scott Bessent said, no one is above the reach of U.S. sanctions. Now, many on the right, like not only Glenn Beck, but probably Fox News and Steve Bannon and the Bannon apparatus and organization will say that this is Trump's secret plan to save the US economy and move us to a gold standard and win the war, right? And that this is 12-dimensional chess and you just have to trust the plan. They are liars and they are frauds. By the way, Steve Bannon, close personal associate and friend of Jeffrey Epstein, even after Epstein was exposed as facilitating the rape of young girls for billionaires in terms of his organization. By the way, Epstein is implicated in this piece as well. He's all up in all of this with the Israeli government and Ehud Barak. That's further on down in the piece. So continue to listen, buckle up. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary of the U.S., just threatened in the release of Operation Economic Outcast to cut entire nations off from the dollar. He did this, and this is what is critical, while actively weakening the dollar through buybacks. Remember the actions of this Treasury Secretary, unprecedented in the buybacks and the propping up of the Japanese yen. There is a reason he did that. While the debt just crossed $40 trillion, he engaged in weakening the dollar through buybacks while he had just gutted the financial transparency system and while the president's family now owns the only federally chartered private digital dollar in existence, that is USD1, created by World Financial Capital, which is Donald Trump's family company, now holds the only currency that could be a backup currency when the dollar collapses or is weakened. So countries that get cut off from the dollar, writes Leah, still need to interact or in a way to transact in dollars. And the only private digital dollar with a federal bank charter that was granted to them by the Treasury of the Secretary, or by the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, is USD1, owned by the Trump family. Scott Bessent is driving countries away from the dollar, purposefully devaluing it, while President Trump's family owns the only reasonable replacement with the full backing of the United States government and our military. Insane. Insane. And this is what they're planning to do. This is what she said in conclusion. There's a lot here. There is the digital dollar play. There is the Epstein connection, which we can get into in a moment. But this is how she concludes. I have studied failing governments, and this comes from Leah's piece. Currency collapses, and economy is getting hollowed out by people who know exactly what they were doing. And again, we have seen Scott Bessent do this. It's a pattern in multiple countries. She said, what I just walked you through in this 11-page piece is an 8-step playbook to privatize the reserve function of the United States dollar for personal profit. Every step has already been executed. The institutions were captured. The competition was banned. The product was built. The law was rigged. The charter was granted. The dollar is being weakened, and the paper trail was destroyed. This is their loop. If this is not what is happening, she asks for anyone who is critical of this piece, which, by the way, 11 pages, fully sourced. If this is not what happens, then she needs someone to explain it to her, because what she says, she's been looking for the innocent version of this, the version where a president bans the government digital dollar, then builds his own, gets a bank charter, passes a law forcing it to buy government debt, installs a treasury secretary who weakens the real dollar, then deletes the financial transparency database and starts cutting countries off from the dollar system entirely. Prove that none of it is connected. You can't. And she says she's been looking for a version of that. She cannot find it. And I agree. The piece is called The Currency Killer. It exposes Scott Bessent and Donald Trump, the Trojan horse. Also, their connection to Jeffrey Epstein, Ehud Barak, and Israel. 13 days, 8 moves. Unbelievable. And no one has put it together the way Leah has. What do you think about all of this? We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to get your thoughts, your questions, your ideas, your opinions. This president is incredibly, incredibly dangerous. And I have tried to warn people about this for 10 years. I've been accused of Trump derangement syndrome. I've been accused of being a Democrat, a socialist, whatever you call it. Tragically, I've been proven right. And this piece, again, one of the best that I've seen out there. So I want to hear from you. If we have time, we can go into the Epstein angle. That's really interesting. And some of the indicators. She mentioned 7 indicators of collapse, and we've hit all of them. And they're doing it on purpose. We can go into that as well. Anyone with any questions? I think this is much bigger than Israel, by the way. I think Israel is a component. I think we are dealing with what Catherine Austin Fitts has described as intergenerational and international pools of capital. I think that there is an Israeli, U.S. government, Trump, there's some family wealth there involved. The tech bros are behind them. And I think they're angling. But it's not just Israel. I think it's much bigger than Israel. I think there are many competing forces right now. The BRICS nations, Russia, China, hard to know who is behind all of this. But every family, especially here in the U.S., is at risk. And there are ways that we can protect ourselves. And we're going to go through some of the things that she suggests in her piece as well when we come back. So if you're watching the SJ Show right now, smash that thumbs up button. Share this with everyone you know. Quick commercial break. And we'll come back with your questions and your comments as well right here on the Shannon Joy Show. Okay, guys, a major update from the Okay, guys, a major update from the International Commission on the Biological Effects of Electromagnetic Fields just dropped. And this one is a blockbuster. Dr. Henry Lay's comprehensive analysis of peer-reviewed studies from the 1990s through May of 2026 shows that the majority, 70 to 89% of the radio frequency studies, and even higher for other EMF categories, report significant adverse effects: oxidative stress, DNA damage, neurological harm, reproductive damage, and more. The full study is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. You can take a look at it for yourself. But tragically, despite the growing concern about human impact of 5G, President Trump has pushed harder than ever to warp speed 6 and even 7G with his December 2025 presidential memo titled Winning the 6G Race. And in April of 2026, he even made this chilling statement: 7G is going to arrive before 6G gets old. The poisoning continues, and our own president is behind it. It's time to take our health into our own hands. And the Satellite Phone Store is here to help. I protect my body and my devices with dark bags from the Satellite Phone Store with Faraday protection you can trust. Here's how it works. The conductive material redistributes electric charges on the surface, creating an opposing field that cancels out the incoming electromagnetic waves. The result: zero net field inside the bags and underneath the blankets, beanies, and apparel. It blocks cell signals, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, 5G, 6G, and 7G, all of it. And of course, also protects your devices against EMP threats and takes you off the grid. Right now, get 10% off everything with the promo code JOY. Go to sat123.com/joy and grab your dark bags today. Don't wait. This is happening. You have to protect yourself, protect your kids, and you can do so with the Satellite Phone Store. So sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. With that JOY promo code, always 10% off.
I was diagnosed as diabetic about 21 years ago. It did kind of throw me for a loop at that time, but they put me on a med. The meds will just take care of it, all right. And then I get on another diabetes med. Then I get on cholesterol med and acid reflux and high blood pressure. And by the time I got to being on 4 diabetes meds and my A1C still out of whack, and I had ballooned up to 360 pounds, I started questioning whether all the meds were really the solution, I could not get below 320. I tried many, many, many different things, but it got to the point where I gave up. I thought I was just going to die young, and that's the way it is. I couldn't figure it out. My wife and I started this protocol together. It was amazing. I was able to get off all 4 of my diabetes meds, reverse my diabetes type 2, reverse my fatty liver. Everything in my blood work came in line. I was able to get off my high cholesterol med, my acid reflux med. I started this protocol at 320, and I lost 72 pounds. My wife, she lost 38 pounds, but the key thing with her is she had kidney disease stage 3A, and she had had this for 3 years. After only 7 weeks on this protocol, she went in and had her blood test, urine test, met with her kidney specialist, and they said, I don't know what you're doing, but you virtually no longer have kidney disease. This will rock your numbers and your world.
Amazing. That was Alan. And the protocol is the Feel Great System by Unicity. It is an amazing protocol. I use it every single day myself. And that testimonial from Alan is included on my site, shannonjoyhealth.com, shannonjoyhealth.com. Dozens upon dozens of personal testimonials about weight loss, lowering cholesterol, curing diabetes. People are being healed by using this protocol. It mimics a GLP-1 injection without the injection. It helps people to fast during the day and then helps them to digest and slow down the digestion process through a unique fiber complex every evening. This reduces the sugar and the insulin spikes, and it is changing people's lives. I had a great conversation with some of the primaries at Feel Great yesterday, and they've mentioned that so many of you have gotten on the system. And what I love about the company, if you go to shannonjoyhealth.com, you can can see all of those testimonials. You can learn about the system and how to use the system, but they support the people who invest in the system. So you have a team of people at your service, email, texting, phone calls to help keep you on the right track. And they're also offering everyone a 90-day money-back guarantee. So this is a 3-part system. It is powder mix-ins that you use every day. And as I mentioned, it's changing people's lives. So right now at shannonjoyhealth.com, you can get $90 off your monthly system and also that 90-day money back guarantee where you can try it. You can put the habits in place. And if you don't love it, if you don't feel great, if you haven't lost weight in 90 days, they're going to give you a full refund. You can ship back the empty box and they will refund your money. That is how proud they are and how confident they are in this product. So for those of you who have joined me on the Feel Great System by Unicity, let's go. Go to shannonjoyhealth.com today. That's shannonjoyhealth.com today to see those testimonials and access and unlock that amazing discount and the 90-day free trial. Next week, we're going to have one of their spokespeople on the SJ show to go into how it works. And I am so excited to talk to Trent. So very, very thankful for my friends over at Unicity. Go to shannonjoyhealth.com. That is shannonjoyhealth.com. I see that we have Tom Haviland on the live chat. Hello, Tom. Great to see you. Dighton Tom is with us. Yes, 100%. We need to have you on maybe next week or the week after. Just give me a phone call. You have my cell number and we will get you set up. Strident Conservative is with us today on the live chat on Rumble. This is what he has to say. Again, Strident Conservative, one of my longest running, most consistent, like rock solid sources out there. If you're not subscribed at stridentconservative.com, if you're not supporting them, you need to go there. It's an amazing platform of relevant information and truth every day from a conservative perspective, but not kneeling or bowing to the cult of Donald Trump. This is what David has to say. Beck and most of the Blaze TV have been on my blacklist since Trump's first term, and he has linked you guys in the live chat on Rumble to his page. David Leach, thank you for all that you do. Buskman on the live chat, Scott Bessent needs to be gone. I have been yelling this since I was blue in the face, and it has fallen on deaf ears. There's only so much that we can do. But you guys can help, push this out, share it. This Substack is killer, absolutely killer. From the Leah files. She goes into the Epstein connection. Again, she lays out here in this piece, the currency killer. Essentially, Scott Bessent, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, is the fox in the henhouse. He is a George Soros protege. He has collapsed currencies at least 5 times in the past 20 years. He is a member of the Epstein class. In fact, she has exposed the Epstein connection and Scott Bessent in this piece, what we're going to get to in a moment. This is why, Donald Trump's cover-up and protection of the Epstein files, Jeffrey Epstein's client list, and the financial infrastructure. It was a criminal. It wasn't just sex trafficking. It wasn't just Ghislaine Maxwell and providing young girls and probably young boys and children to billionaires to rape, which is what Epstein did. That's bad. It wasn't just about blackmail. It wasn't just about coercion. It wasn't just about a coup d'etat, a takeover of our government infrastructure, institutions, and politicians by a black class, a cartel, a criminal cartel. It was also financial crimes, money laundering, drug trafficking, organ trafficking, human trafficking, and everyone was involved. Scamdemics, pandemic for profit, buried in those Epstein files that Donald Trump tried to suppress with his fake Pam Bondi Epstein file binder, psyop, right? I mean, it was so much bigger than that. That's why I fought so hard alongside Tom Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene to have those files released. They still haven't been fully released. Donald Trump is still protecting the pedophiles and the criminals and the criminal cartel and Jeffrey Epstein and his associates and George Soros and the rest of them. Like, oh my gosh, like how much clearer can this be to people? Like, it's insane. It's insane. And so there's a clear Epstein connection that we're going to get to, but this piece essentially asserts Donald Trump, Trojan horse, working for the bad guy, calls are coming from inside the house. He puts in place Scott Bessent, the guy whose job it is to collapse currencies and profit to the tune of billions of dollars. Close personal associate of George Soros. Okay, if that's not bad enough, that was 2 years ago. The two of them together have worked in tandem to do everything they can to collapse the US economy and destroy the dollar. And now we are at 7 out of 7 in the currency crisis indicators that would suggest an incoming financial collapse. She lays that out here in the piece. Number 1, the government is buying its own bonds. Number 2, the debt to GDP ratio is above 100%. Number 3, interest costs are now above 15% of the revenue. Number 4, foreign holders of U.S. debt are now reducing their positions. Number 5, the dollar reserve share is declining. Number 6, financial oversight is being dismantled, which just happened in the past week. And number 7, political interference is now being deployed into fiscal policy. All of those indicators are present. This is where we are today. And this is the historical signal that has preceded every other currency collapse in human history, as laid out by Leah over at Leah Files. She then goes through the 13 moves over 8 days between August 11th and August 21st. What happened? What did Scott Bessent and Donald Trump do together to create the perfect crime? Well, this is what they did. August 11th. The Corporate Transparency Act was killed. FinCEN beneficial ownership databases were ordered to be deleted. No transparency. You can't know anything about the shell companies that are being put in place that are going to cover up any of the fingerprints of the footprints regarding what they're doing. That happened on August 11th. August 14th, Trump family crypto firm gets a bank charter from Scott Bessent, a federally chartered private digital dollar platform, appears. August 17th, the Genius Act rules are published. Aaron Day has been going through this. It is an atrocity, but stable coins are now required to hold treasury bills as reserves. On August 18th, the national debt crosses $40 trillion. On August 19th, the bond buyback program doubles under Scott Bessent, inexplicably, recklessly, as some have described, when Scott Bessent and his treasury expanded the buybacks to support the bond market and pressure the dollar, to devalue the dollar. On August 21st, the warning signs intensify as the 7-indicator crisis model that I just mentioned shows all 7 conditions are present. On August 24, Operation Economic Outcast is announced. The Treasury, through Bessent, threatens to cut entire countries and entities off from the dollar system as part of the Iran war. And then the loop is assembled. The weaker dollar, rising stable coins, treasury financing, and private profit begin to connect. Why? Because the only stable coin that could reasonably be used as people move off the dollar is the Trump-owned USD1. Through World Liberty Financial. And so every time the dollar is devalued, Donald Trump, Trump Inc., his cronies, his kids are going to profit all the way down. The plunder presidency, pumping and dumping all the way down. I told you this from the very beginning. And this is now laid out in crystal clear language, 11 pages at the Leah Files on Substack. I want to thank her for putting this in such amazing perspective. It is so clear and easy to understand. The charts are amazing. And hopefully we will bring Leah in next week to talk about this and more. Questions, comments. I'm going to look at the Twitter feed in just a moment. Here's the Epstein connection. Do you guys want to hear about this? Well, what do you think about this first? Oh, hey, Strident Conservative. Great to see you. Thank you, Shannon. Bye-bye is with us. Texas Gal forever. What else here? Epstein was involved in all kinds of things. Yeah, Epstein was way bigger than just the child sex trafficking. And by the way, Steve Bannon is part of the Epstein network. Steve Bannon is locked in. You can't trust anything. I would say Glenn Beck and Steve Bannon, they're on my shit list. They're on my list of least trustworthy so-called conservative commentators on the face of the planet. Locked in, completely locked in. You can't trust anything they say. Steve Bannon was like almost best friends. Steve Bannon was trying to help Jeffrey Epstein rehabilitate his persona and his character after he was exposed for abusing and molesting young children and providing young children to men for rape and abuse. And Steve Bannon just thought that was fine. Steve Bannon said, hey, this was before he was arrested the second time, before he went to prison. Right? He's working with Steve Bannon, and Steve is like, okay, so how are we going to launder your dark character so that I can present you as a hero to my conservative audience? Steve Bannon is the worst of the worst of the worst. I don't know how anyone trusts him. I would never go on his show, by the way, ever. Anyway, Mark the Regan with us on the live chat. Great to see you. What's going on Twitter? Let's take a look here. Let's see if we have any live chatters on Twitter right now. I want to say hello to all of you. If you're watching on Twitter right now, please say hello. I want to follow you back. Applegreat.net, great to see you. You already follow me, but I'm just saying hello. You are such a joy to listen to. I never ever miss your show. Stay pretty, stay blessed, stay you. Oh my gosh. And as always, thank you for sharing the truth. Applegreat, that's so sweet. Yeah, Leah Files is on the cutting edge and has been for a long time. I've been watching Leah Files for the past few months, and she is putting out just really good information. Applegreat also agrees Bannon is a total compromised creep. The Trump cartel, they're all getting filthy rich. Absolutely true. Hey, Michael Powell, great to see you on the live chat on Twitter. RFK Jr. is a psyop. He will not do anything that countermands his boss edicts. In the show notes of today's show, I have a piece from Sasha Latapova. This is the kind of piece that I don't want to read, right? Like, this is the kind of piece where I'm just like, please, I don't want to look at it. I don't want to believe that the layers of propaganda are so sophisticated that they could possibly have been holding on to Bobby Kennedy Jr. for 20 years, waiting to deploy him. I mean, she goes into Bobby Kennedy Jr. and his ties to the CIA, to the deep state. And you guys know Sasha Latapova. She doesn't mince words. That's linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show today. We're not going to get to it because I want to really go through this Leah Files piece, but we will do that next week for sure. Garth Hilton. Bannon is building the woke right in an attempt to fracture the conservative movement. 100%. And you guys have to help me expose Steve Bannon. He is the worst of the worst. Who else? Texas Gal forever. I never listened to Bannon, so I really haven't paid attention to him. Bannon is a pipeline. People want to go. Bannon has a network of influence that was likely crafted and created for him because he's part of the deep state. He is probably intelligence. I don't know how he came to be where he is. I don't know his backstory, but clearly his massive platform was created for him and curated for him. And people want to go on Steve Bannon's show and they want to stay connected or play nice with Steve Bannon because when they go onto his show, they sell like a gazillion dollars worth of books and they get a bunch of followers and they will increase their platform. And so he's like a gatekeeper. He's a gateway. If he has you on, you're gonna make some money. And he's in the shadow. He's lurking in the shadows of so many really, really nasty coalitions that I've been exposed to, that I have operated in the periphery of. I've never been in Bannon's pipeline, and I never want to be in Bannon's pipeline, but that's why people do it. Posobiec, also a plant. I mean, these people are fake. This is honestly, Bannon is probably part of signature reduction, SIG redux. Everyone needs to understand that term. This is a government operation called signature reduction. It was deployed over 10, 20 years ago. 60,000 people, entities, private corporations, non-governmental organizations, individuals, journalists were deployed in secret as secret government agents. This is not the CIA. This is not the FBI. This is not the deep state. It's a completely separate program designed to erase the signature of the federal government. They want you to believe that things are happening organically in your hometown, organically at your zoning meeting, organically in conservative media. They want you to think that Steve Bannon is really fighting the good fight, and there are white hats out there, and this is a QAnon, trust the plan. Trump is putting together this super secret 12-step saving the country program. Like, all of it is likely deployed by the federal government seeking to erase their fingerprint. Signature reduction, SIG redux. Sasha Latipova wrote a piece on it. There's a great Newsweek article on this as well. It's nasty what they're doing. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bannon and Glenn Beck and a whole host of these organizations weren't part of signature reduction. These people are agents. They are paid potentially by the federal government. And I just think I think it's becoming obvious at this point. Garth Hilton, Bannon will do some good just so that he can usher in the poisonous ideology into the right, i.e. his work with Naomi Wolf on the Pfizer shots. I don't know if I'd go that far. I mean, he definitely platformed Naomi, and we were glad that she was platformed at the time, talking about the Pfizer shots and the documents. But did he do that out of good faith? I don't believe he did. I don't believe he did at all. And he's a fascist. Bannon is a full-scale right-wing fascist. And I mean, he's the worst. Central casting for sure. So thank you to everyone on the live chat on Twitter. It's great to see you guys. And I'm just going to repost this again so we can bump up that audience. I also want to go to YouTube and see if I can see some of your comments on YouTube as well. Let's see what we have going on here. Let's pull it up. And yeah, we have some comments. Hey, Jerry Alatalo, great to see you today on the live chat on YouTube. Jerry has this to say: thank you, Shannon, for this absolutely necessary articulation. Sugarcoating premeditated mass murder and eugenics and depopulation does not work or cut it anymore and should no longer be tolerated. Thank you. 360 Doge Walker, great to see you on the live chat. And who else do we have here? Let's see who else we have on the live chat. Hey, Edgar Hartman, 9612. Great to see you. Stephanie Green is with us. Shannon looks so nice being more natural and less makeup. Well, thank you. Yeah, I lightened the lipstick today a little bit. Glad you noticed. Stephanie, appreciate you. Simulation 1984 is with us. This is what Simulation 1984 has to say. Glenn Beck is a Mossad, Adelson, Teal shill. I tried to clue him in over a year ago when he re-interviewed Whitney Webb. Oh, that was an infuriating interview with Whitney Webb, and she did a great job. Love Whitney Webb, Unlimited Hangout, the Free Thought Project, Jason Bassler, and Derek Bros, Ryan Fournier. We have The Last American Vagabond, great independent outlet. Sharon Zarlaki is with us as well. Thomas Anthony, great to see you. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Scott 5037 is with us on YouTube. Appreciate you. Appreciate all of you on YouTube. Please like, share, and comment on the SJ Show. That's how we grow the platform here, Garth Hilton, that was a crazy interview. Glenn Beck twisted himself into the most unlikely pretzel in order to omit any discussion about Donald Trump, Peter Thiel, the tech bros, Silicon Valley, any of the alliances that they had, in terms of Whitney's exposure of the technocracy and the techno-fascist surveillance state. It was crazy. Roger Stone is the worst. Roger Stone is the worst. The crazy people. And you know what, guys? A lot of these people, Michael Caputo, Roger Stone, Palladino, Donald Trump, like a lot of people in my own hometown were very instrumental in convincing Donald Trump to run for the presidency way back in like 2014 and 13. I covered some of this. It's crazy. I know some of these people. I don't know Roger Stone personally, but he was originally in New York State. And I mean, it's nasty. My region is a hotbed for corruption. The Finger Lakes region in New York State, a whole contingency of people, a dozen or so, went to Trump Tower and put together like a 12-point plan for him to run for the presidency. In fact, the guy who spearheaded that was Bill Nojay, a guy that I saw every day at the radio station that I launched my show at. He tragically killed himself a couple years later. Crazy. This is a start. One day I'll write a book. One day, guys, I will write a book about the things that I have seen in New York State, in my proximity, within the Republican Party, movers and shakers. It will blow your mind. It's one of the reasons that I emancipated from the two-party system. I saw things that frightened me. That's all I'll say. I saw things that frightened me in 2011, 12, 13, 14, and the years before launching my show. And I decided I don't want to be anywhere near these people. I had an invitation to get on the Trump train, to get on the bus from Carl Palladino to go down and meet President Trump and join, this was in 2015. I declined. I'm like, oh, hell no, not getting anywhere near this. Maybe we can talk about that tomorrow in the exclusive Rumble Premium live chat. You guys can ask me about that. I don't want to go public with any of this because I'm just not ready to do it, but maybe one day I will write a book. I've seen a lot. There's a reason I have the opinions that I have. There's a reason that I have emancipated fully from both political parties. And it has to do with a lot of things that I have seen. I've purposefully stayed out of Washington, D.C. I do not align with parties or factions because it's dangerous. It's dangerous, and I just won't do it. CJP Rumble. Yeah, I've watched my own friend who became our town's mayor capitulate to this BS propaganda too. Yeah, you can't be anywhere near it. Anywhere. They hate me, by the way. The Republican Party in Monroe County hates me. I mean, I was blackballed by the biggest conservative voices in radio and conservative media in Rochester, New York, Buffalo, and Syracuse 10 years ago. They want nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. And for good reason, because they know I'm hot. They know I don't have any reins. They know that I'm going to say what I think. And yeah. Ooh, KC12112. Wendy Bell went to see Trump and hasn't been the same since. I'm not surprised. You align with Trump and you have made a deal with the devil, period. You align with Trump, you align with MAGA, you align with the Republican Party today, which is Trump and MAGA. You are aligning with the devil, in my opinion. You are aligning with Epstein. You are aligning with Soros. You are aligning with the most wicked people, in my opinion, on the face of the planet. And there's a lot of wickedness within the Democrat Party as well. Joe Biden, Hunter Biden. By the way, interesting, Hunter Biden has, I kid you not, a tattoo of the Finger Lakes, my region, across the entirety of his back. I believe that his mother grew up in the Finger Lakes region. Chuck Schumer has a home on Skinny Atlas Lake, which is like 40 minutes away from me. This is just I live in a hotbed of weird political stuff. It's crazy. It is crazy. But no, and this is why I did everything I could to keep the medical freedom movement, the health freedom movement, Bobby Kennedy Jr., Jay Bhattacharya. I begged them. I said, do not go to the White House. Do not align with Trump. This is a wicked criminal cartel. I did my best, right? I can only do so much. Anyways, any other comments on the live chat? We gotta wrap this up. I have another interview as well that I have to do, so I'm late for that. I've been going so long, 2 hours. 2-hour show on Monday, 2-hour show on Tuesday, Wednesday, and today. It's crazy. Was Richard Gere from Syracuse? No way. Crazy. Anyway, all right, that's the show. Everything is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. I hope that I did justice to Leah's piece, The Currency Killer, Scott Bessent, the Leah Files. Also, the 2-part series, the research paper that has been released by Dr. James Thorpe is in the show notes, and Sasha Ladapova's piece, tragically, linking Bobby Kennedy Jr. to the CIA. It's a very depressing read. I suggest you read it. We're going to get into that later in the week. Tomorrow, 11 a.m.-ish, from my home, I will be broadcasting live. We're going to go behind the Rumble Premium paywall, and I'm going to answer all of your questions. So if you have questions about what we covered today, if you want to ask me about my backstory, if you want to ask me about my private life, my husband, my career, the business, the show, whatever you want to talk about, it is Ask Me Anything Friday, and we're going to do that tomorrow around 11 a.m. We're going to get started right here, and then we're going to go behind that Rumble Premium paywall in the first 5 minutes, and you guys can ask those questions. KC12112, awesome show, Shannon. Thank you so much. Can't wait to talk to all of you guys tomorrow. Appreciate all of you. Please support the sponsors of the Shannon Joy Show. They're also linked in the show notes. Scroll down. All of my URLs, the Joy promo code is going to get you an amazing discount for all of the products and services. And remember, it is those advertisers that keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. I disclose them to you in full transparency so that you know how we are financially supported here on the SJ Show. Again, no billionaire backers, no super PACs, no secret government organizations, no foreign governments, not the Democrats, not the Republicans. Everything that we do here, it's you, your donations, your contributions, and our advertisers. And that keeps me free. I have the ultimate freedom to tell you whatever I think about anything. And that is very rare these days. So I want to thank all of you for supporting this show. Go to theshannonjoy.com right now, theshannonjoy.com, if you want to sign up for regular monthly donations, contributions. Some of you contribute $10 a month, $15, $20 a month, and it means so much to me. That is how you can directly support the program. If you don't want to do the advertisers and you don't want to support through any of the platforms that I'm on, you can go right to my website, theshannonjoy.com. That's theshannonjoy.com. All right, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow right here on The Shannon Joy Show.